Hello there and welcome to another Kerfuffle webinar, and I'm delighted to have Mark McCorry, the CEO at Made Snappy. Mark, how the devil are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thank you. You?
Good, yeah, not bad. I'm a little bit curmudgeonly, if I'm honest, but as the summer kicks in and my hay fever gets to epidemic levels, I start to get all bad. But it's been wonderfully cold up here in Manchester, so I'm all fine. But anyway, Mark, just talk to us then. Give us a bit of background. There's a clue in the name around Made Snappy, isn't it? You don't have to guess too much about it. Today we're going to the title is saving 30k per branch using virtual tours. Okay, you've got my attention there. We'll come on to go into that a bit more detail, but just give us a bit of background, Mark. Talk us through what made you start Made Snappy in the beginning.
Okay, so I used to run a letting agency, but before that I used to work at a tech company. So out of university, I was recruited as a coder. So I worked for a big tech company called Autodesk, who generally built B2B software for big companies, manufacturing companies.
Okay.
Companies like Boeing, Jaguar Land Rover, companies like that. So car companies, space companies, airplane companies. They would buy our software so that they could design their parts in 3D. And then they'd mill them on metal and just literally create parts for cars and planes and all that kind of stuff. So I helped write the software for that. Then I went on to lettings, so I ran my own letting agency.
Yep.
And it was really when I was running my letting agency that I started to see a lot of inefficiencies and things that just really annoyed me, basically. So one of that was driving across the city for half an hour at an awkward time. Yep. To wait 15 minutes outside the property because the tenant didn't really know the area and they turned up late. And then they walk straight through the front door, look around the hallway and just say, I don't like it. And that was just a huge waste of time for me.
Waste,
not just a waste of time, but other things I could have been doing by that time. And also the awkwardly timed viewings that are a waste of time as well. So Made Snappy was really about solving my own problems first. So I built a virtual tour platform for Made Snappy, rolled out virtual tours across my whole portfolio, and I saw roughly a 40% reduction in viewings to let the same properties.
What?
Then 2019, kind of got a little bit fed up of running a letting agency and really enjoyed the tech side. So I thought, well, I've saved so much money doing this. Why don't I do that for other agents? And I sold my letting agency and started Made Snappy.
Yeah. Okay. And you're talking about there straight off the bat. I can see it makes tremendous sense there. Obviously, you know, the whole market's been red hot at the moment, but in lettings, famously, where you've got 100+ inquiries on each property, it's even more relevant there. But still, are you still seeing? I suppose on the letting side of things, is it worthwhile the time and energy of putting in the work to create a virtual tour, given that the properties move so quickly, or would you say that this is a way of optimizing that time?
Well, that's where some of our agents have actually had the most benefits from the letting side, just processing that many inquiries on a property. So just being able to filter them quickly and cut down to the very serious people. So we've got some agents who do one view and then rent the property, and they've done that by streamlining the process using virtual tours. So actually it's helping them get through those leads much more efficiently.
Okay, right, that makes sense. And just give us, and apart from that time saving, talk us through again, what do you think the main benefits are of virtual tours?
So I think there's quite a lot of benefits of virtual tours. So time saving is quite a big one.
Yep.
It depends whether we're talking about lettings or sales. So particularly on the lettings side, time saving is probably one of the biggest ones. But then you've got secondary benefits of just removing geographical barriers from people who are looking for properties.
Yeah.
So I moved 200 miles on my last move, and trying to book a property to view with that 200-mile gap was actually quite a challenge. So help reduces those geographical barriers as well, and opens your market up to more potential tenants and more potential buyers. So that's one of the benefits, and just being able to open up your market and just have loads and loads of people view it online.
And virtual tours, Mark, have been around for quite some time now, haven't you? How have they evolved over the years? How much easier is it to create the virtual tours? You certainly the quality's gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was probably Matterport that really started with the virtual tours. When they started, the cameras, I believe they're about £4,500. I think that was probably what prompted me to build my own platform, just because the huge cost. They have like 3D scanners, and those 3D scanners slowly rotate around the room, scan the room, take quite high quality photos. But it costs about £4,500, and then the monthly running costs were quite expensive as well. So I think initial virtual tours were quite high quality, quite expensive. And then as you've seen 360 cameras come to the market over the last 4 or 5 years, I think we've seen them get much cheaper and much quicker to do as well. So some of the agents doing Matterport tours have told me it's taken them over 2 hours to do a house, like a 3-bedroom house. They're sat there for 2 hours waiting for the thing to spin around.
Yeah.
With a 360 camera, you could be in and out in the space of 10 minutes in the property, if not less. And then a bit of post-production at the office, another 10 minutes, and you've got your virtual tour.
Okay. And what technical skill do you have to be with these, Mark? Do you have to be a bit of a whiz kid, or is it literally, or is it the other end of the scale, child's play, to be able to do it?
I think once you've done one, it's very easy to do. So use a 360 camera. It's actually easier than taking normal photos. So with normal photos, you've got to work out the angle of the room you're taking the photo at. So you see people stood in the corner of the room trying to get a really good shot.
Yeah.
360 camera is just put it in the middle of the room, and on your phone, just push the button to take the photo. So there is a little bit more to it than that, uploading the photos and linking them together. But once you've done it once or twice, so we've got very technically challenged agents using our software. And called technical support a couple of times after they've just signed up, but then we don't hear from them for 6 to 12 months because they're just cracking on with that.
You're literally like riding a bike. As soon as you're up on it, you're fine and away.
Yeah, riding a bike, yeah.
So that's interesting. So let's just talk about in terms of where they used to start, wasn't it? Was that you would always have somebody, a professional would come around with their kit, that essentially you'd outsource that to them and you'd book in a time and do that out. I mean, that still goes on, doesn't it? But I mean, obviously you're a little bit biased here, but should agents still be looking at that as an option, or should they do in-house? What's your slightly nuanced position on this?
I think it's a bit of a mix. I think there's something to be said for each. So some agents just like outsourcing stuff. What we generally find is the more expensive properties where you're getting a little bit more commission or there's more money in it, agents tend to outsource that more and pay high quality virtual tours. Get a Matterport service provider in, and they'll pay the cost. On the cheaper properties where there's not so much commission, I think you probably find that agents tend to do it a little bit more in-house. So it really depends on what you're doing already. If you're outsourcing, then you could outsource this, but if you're doing it in-house, there's a very cheap and easy way of doing it in-house. But it's so easy to do as well. Like if you outsource, you're paying a lot of money for this, whereas you could do it in-house at a very, very cheap cost. Yeah.
And vendors love them, don't they? I mean, let's be honest, or vendors, all landlords. I mean, there was a study in the home moving trends, I think it was, that's done every year by the Academy at AA Masters. And they were talking about, what assets do people like? And time again, virtual tours get very highly placed, even though I think it's fair to say, a bit of snobbishness or suspicion about them from estate agents. But the public vote with their feet, don't they?
Yeah, every potential vendor I've spoken to or showed these virtual tours has been very impressed with, wow, you're going to put my house on like this Google Street View technology kind of thing. So yeah, I think vendors tend to like it, and anyone buying a property, it's very, very useful when you're buying a property. So I'm going through that process now, and I was looking at quite a few properties online, and the ones that do have a virtual tour, I spent a lot longer looking inside the house, and then when I did book a viewing in on one of them, that was essentially a second viewing. So like the people in the market do really like the virtual tours.
Got you. And you mentioned there Matterport, and there's other providers there who have the specialist kits and everything else there. What's the actual setup with yourselves? Is it a specialist camera? Can people use a variety of cameras, and it's the software that handles the heavy lifting? Just talk us through the mechanics of it.
So you need a 360 camera. You need a tripod. So it does need to be a special tripod. Can't be a normal tripod. In fact, got one right next to me here.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can have any 360 camera. It works on our platform, but we ship out one of these Xiaomi Mi Sphere cameras. It needs to be a special tripod. So normal camera tripods have a platform here to support the weight of a heavy camera, like a DSLR.
Yeah.
But that platform ends up getting in the way of the photos. So you actually need no platform and straight pull down. It's a light stand, and that will get you great photos without having the tripod in your photos.
Understand.
Yeah.
And how does it work with most multi-office agencies? Do they just have one? Do they just do they share the camera around? Do they have one per office? How does it work just logistically, mainly for multi-office agencies?
Well, cameras are so cheap, it doesn't really make sense to share it across the offices. Otherwise, you're just dropping it between offices all the time. They're cost effective enough just to buy one per office. So at the price that we're shipping them now, $295 gets you a whole bag of equipment. So if you're a multi-office chain, like you can easily afford just one per branch.
And you do work with quite a few of the larger chains as well, don't you?
Yeah, so one of the big ones we're working with is Pansons. They've rolled it out across all of their branches. So they've bought like a ton of cameras off us over the last year, and they've slowly rolled it out across every single branch.
Okay, great. And so they would go down that same route then, because as you said, actually, it would have been commercial suicide if you were going to roll out a $4,500 camera to each of those offices. But when you're at that point, it simply doesn't make choice, does it? Passing them between.
No, it lends itself to only doing it on a subset of your properties. So what we find is people who have bought the £4,500 Macbook camera, it's cheaper now, it's about 2,800.
Okay.
What they tend to do is do it on the higher end, nicer, like higher spec properties. But then the bulk of their stock, maybe 80% of the lower stuff, they don't tend to do it on. So we've actually got clients that do Matport on the high end and make Snappy on the rest of the lower 80%.
And you'll work quite happily, kind of hand in glove there on that basis. And talking about the clients there, as you're just saying, talk us through a few of the stories of clients using Made Snappy. What's their feedback? What are they able to tell you about how useful it's been?
Okay, there's one particular, so there's a Martin & Co branch that we work quite closely with. They, like you said earlier, they've been having 100, 200 leads per property on their rental.
Yeah.
So they've got quite streamlined lead management processes. So when you make an inquiry off Rightmove or Zoopla, they've got some software that handles that, vets the tenant in a bit. So what's your budget? How much income have you got? That kind of criteria. If it passes all of that, then they send them the virtual tour. And if they still like it, then they book them in for viewing. So it cuts out, it's a little bit like a funnel that's cutting people out and just filtering down the leads. They have one negotiator for 600 managed properties and a total of about 1,000 properties in their portfolio, including the let only.
Yep.
There's one negotiator across the whole lot. And the owner of that branch estimates to save them over £30,000 just in terms of having less staff.
Wow, so that's where that title of the show comes from then, in terms of the 30k saving there. So people will be able to look at those figures themselves and come up with their own ROI stats off the back of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember we spoke about it before, going back to sometime actually even way before the Matterports of the world, and there were these kind of these camera systems that stitched them together via multiple individual shots being taken, but it led to a very that horrible fish lens approach there, the goldfish bowl effect. Does that? Yeah. You don't get any of that. I mean, certainly looking on your website, the quality of the tools is exceptional. So I take it that's what we were talking about before. The technology has just overtaken that.
I think there's ways of doing that with our technology as well. So basically, when you take a photo on your phone on the camera, it's actually zoomed out slightly, so you get that goldfish effect a little bit. And I think it's partly to do with the zoom. So as a zoomed properly, so that you don't have that effect. But yeah, I think that's just mainly a zoom issue.
And some agents at different times have spoken about, well, we feel like those tours are showing too much of the property, which might put somebody off viewing, and then they might never even contact the agent there. Do you see that as a problem? Is that valid these days at all? That kind of concern?
Yeah, I think there's two different types of agents. So some of the agents we speak to just want everything public, so it's on their Rightmove listings, and they can actually tell from the view counts that how quickly that property is going to sell. and they just find that it reaches more people. You're removing those geographical barriers. People are looking around it and thinking, maybe I will book a viewing on that property when they might not have done. They don't see any negative impact at all of showing too much of the property. But then on the other side, you do have a lot of agents who do worry about that and want those leads. If the person didn't like that property, they want to be able to show them an equivalent property. So we can cater for both options. So if an agent's worried about that, we've got a lead capture system. So what you can do is put a lead capture link on Rightmove instead of the main tour link. It loads up the tour and they try and move around the property. It pops up a little box saying, for privacy and security reasons, please register to view the tour. And you'll capture their name, email address, and phone number. And 90% of those phone numbers look like real numbers as well. So people are putting in real details and it will send them to secure link. So once you've got that, you can actually track how many times they've opened the link, how much of the property they've viewed.
Yeah.
And so you kind of eliminate that, you kind of get the benefits of the virtual tours without worrying too much about like showing too much of the property off. So we've even got some agents who are telling all of their inquiries to go back to Rightmove, register for the tour, so that they can check one that they've viewed it and they've shown a high enough level of interest, and to capture their details and just have it in their inbox nicely. So yeah, I think we can cater for both options. I don't think that's necessary.
What an innovative way, Mark, there of using those tools in that way. You know, we've ordinarily thought of these as just being a kind of marketing asset in terms of the way that it's actually published elsewhere. To use it as a lead generation tool, I'll be honest, I haven't actually even thought about that as a concept before, but makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
There was a couple of other things I had to look, and I encourage anyone to go to your website to have a look through, because you've got some really helpful kind of transparently honest tables, haven't you, where you compare against all the different ones. And there was little bits that stood out there in terms of your ability to, again, use the Facebook pixel, I think, in there as well.
Yes.
Which of course most agents are really starting to get on board with in a big way, driving that activity. The other thing that jumped out in terms of the price, and I'm assuming you don't mind me saying, from there it looked like the pricing looked like it was from £49 per month per branch. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Not per branch, just £49 a month.
Just £49. Sorry. Okay.
Subscription.
Unlike me to undersell it there for once, but but okay. And I mean, it looked at least half the price of most of the competitors that were kind of on there, but in many cases as well, many times less than that.
Yes.
The one I couldn't get my head around, and do you tell me here, is it said you were able to create aerial shots without a drone. Now I know I'm incredibly simplistic. Just give me is this some sort of is this Harry Potter-esque sort of?
Yeah, we did joke to some of our staff once we first did it. They were just throwing the camera up in the air and timed it really well.
Just get the right. It's all about timing.
They believed us, but no, we've got something called aerial stick, which you screw the camera on.
Yeah.
And you can extend the pole to about 3 meters, and when you hold it above your head, you get in 5 to 6 meters up in the air.
Right.
And you can just take a photo, and you can get really, really good drone-like shots with a 360 camera.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do off it is you can pull a 2D still off the 360 image. Outdoor shots on the 360s tend to be higher quality, so you can get some quite good drone footage off just off a really long aerial stick.
So I like all this. I mean, I've just literally cherry picked a few of them there, but instantly people start to see that you are being innovative. You're driving things in a different area, which again, going together with that price point is a nice benefit to have. So another thing that, and apologies, I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly here, but I've heard these stories over the years that some agents are also, they talk about they don't want to lose the personal touch with virtual tours. Again, is that very much kind of an urban myth, or is there an element of truth to it?
Well, there's a lot of agents who do worry about that, the personal touch, and generally technology should enhance how agents work, not like remove personal touch.
Yeah.
I think if an agent was worried about that, my first question would be, would you rather have twice as many viewings to sell the property? Like, so clearly reducing viewings is a very good metric, and it doesn't eliminate the personal touch. It enhances how you work. And it doesn't eliminate viewings either. It just means that when you do go on a viewing with someone that much more serious, which is really who you want to be sending your staff out doing viewings with, not window shoppers or people who are going to view 100 properties before they make a decision. So no, I don't think it does remove the personal touch.
And I think that's, look, there's so many tools obviously coming up perversely, as I've said over the years. Agents aren't short of leads at the moment, or indeed inquiries, but there are tools coming along to literally handle that amount of inquiries. But what you're doing is, rather than doing it via that rather forced way, you're doing it naturally on a self-selection basis, aren't you? By making sure that they're willing to go through and engage and just make sure that that property is actually right for them in the first place.
Yes, yes. For example, the lead capture tool, though, so you can actually see how much they've viewed of the property. Still means you can give them a call and say,
stop you being proactive, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And so, look, again, I think you can go on, and if you typed in virtual tours on Google, you'd probably come up with hundreds and hundreds of these packages out there. How important is it, do you think, to have a package, though, that understands estate agency? Famously, you've obviously just said you created this because you had real life experience of it. What are those features that you have actually built for estate and letting agents?
Okay, so there's a few, and we have more in the pipeline as well. So lead capture is a big one. So a lot of agents, well, we heard the objection from agents a lot about losing leads, people viewing the virtual tour and never contacting them. So we built the lead capture system, and we're slowly addressing all the issues that agents have with virtual tours, because I know what the benefits are. I know if you adopt virtual tours, you can save huge amounts of money. So it's about getting past some of these little obstacles that agents have. So lead capture is one of the big things that we've implemented recently. We're going to be doing an update on that soon. Aerial shots, that one again, I think is quite good for agents, showing off gardens outside of properties. Facebook Pixel, again, so you can have a virtual tour of Rightmove or Zoopla. People view the virtual tours, sometimes thousands of people view these tours. You can then put ads in front of those people on Facebook using the Facebook Pixel. So it's tracking who's viewing your tours. So we've got little things like a view counter in the top corner. You can have an optional view counter on the top corner of your tour. So if you think about when you're doing a viewing with people, when you say, wow, this property is really popular, we think it's going to go quite quick. That kind of stuff is the equivalent of that on a virtual tour, because it shows you how many other people have been viewing that virtual tour.
Yeah,
I think that's quite a good feature. And then we've got a few coming in the pipeline, which probably not ready to talk about yet, but we discussed a minute ago before we started this.
You did give me a bit of a sneak peek, but I think you're right. Hold your guns on that, because I think that's a really innovative one. But definitely we want to be talking to you in a few weeks' time when that comes out. But I think what we're gauging there, isn't it, Mark, is that you guys, in the same way that I always obviously encourage people, there's plenty of just generic website companies out there that agents can deal with, but actually you've then got to explain to them the intricacies of things like BLM feeds, Rightmove feeds, property search, everything else, and just that amount of time, reinventing the wheel over and over again and missing out on all these opportunities of things that you've highlighted because you get the business. That's quite a tangible benefit, isn't it? Because you can always get things. I said what a great price point there is. As I said, there's ones out there that will be cheaper, but you wouldn't get any of this fantastic, functionality that is going to dwarf the other benefits, isn't it?
Yeah, I think when you get software that's niche and built around you, and it just suits your needs much better, and you get a better ROI off that. And we're talking like the cost is so cheap anyway, 49 quid a month.
Yeah, it's just nothing at all, isn't it? I'm already trying to think here. So you've got all these wonderful little tools and widgets per se, but you've got the ability there. If you've got that Facebook, the Pixel as well, you can really, everyone's looking after stock at the moment, aren't they? And if they're able to target on Facebook those potential clients of the future there, letting them know that a property has just gone up with a virtual tour on a property that is going to be in their immediate locality, And that then obviously, as you said, with that lead gen tool could be created to try and there's your nurture campaign for the stock going forwards, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's a lot you could do with the Facebook pixel. So a lot of people buying are selling as well.
Yeah.
And the first thing they start to do is look at properties before they put their property on the market. So if you have a Facebook pixel, you could even potentially retarget of trying to get valuations.
That's right. But here's the thing about that, isn't it? They famously can sit quite passively, whether it's 9 months, 18 months, there's loads of stats on it. But if they're sat over here just outside of your sphere of influence or vision there, this is one way of just getting to them, isn't it? Before the other agents have potentially even got a chance. And with people like, Heather over at Street and Spectre talking about, they've got that wonderful Hello Again product, which nurtures people back. But they're talking about, I think the average was about 14 or 15% of vendors only go back to the agent that they've used previously. So, that link between that loyalty link's been broken anyway. So you've got every opportunity to break in, even if you didn't sell to that person first time around.
Yes.
Great. Okay, it's really good. Well, that sounds really exciting, Mark. And you've been, I don't know how you managed to do this anyway, considering that competitive price point. You've been kind enough to do a special offer for our Kerfuffle members as well. Would you mind just explaining how they can take advantage of that?
Yes. Okay. So we do have a free camera offer. So if you pay 12 months up front on the software, so £49 a month, we'll include a free camera. So you've paid for the whole year and you get a free camera. So if you want that deal, just contact us, let us know you've come through Kerfuffle, and we'll sort you out that deal.
Perfect. Well, that's really kind of you. So, guys, remember, go have a look at the landing pages on here. Made Snappy on kerfuffle.com. See further information about it. You can see a replay of this one as well, and any other future videos or panel shows we do with the team here as well. There's a wonderful, nice pink, as you would expect, I'm interested, contact me button. If you click on that, we'll pass the lead as well through to Mark and the team to progress. But yeah, have a good look at that and understand what you can get in a very compelling offer. And just in terms of generics there, Mark, if they wanted to kind of just suck it and see on a monthly basis, how long are they tied in for ordinarily? What's the contract period?
They're not tied in, but they have paid 12 months. So, but we will give you a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you're not happy in the first month.
So really, no excuse not to try to give this a go, is there?
Yeah, just order a camera from it and try it.
There you go. See, I'll let you off with a quick hard sell at the end. I think I'm entitled to do that there. So let me just take three key takeaways. There's tips, winning instructions. Do virtual tours, lose the personal touch. That's not our belief at all. It's actually enabling you to be much more proactive and everything else. And crucially, as you gave us with the example before, some of the agents are able to even save, figures of up to 30K a year through using your Made Snappy solution. Cool. Yeah, magic. Okay, Mark. Thank you very much for that today. I feel like I thought I knew about virtual tours, but actually I've learned a bit more there. Some really innovative stuff. Thank you once more.
Cool. Cheers, Simon. Thanks for that.
Cheers. Have a good day. Thanks all.
You too. Catch you back.